There is a lie that has been whispered into the ear of every generation facing the end of an empire. It is a lie that paralyzes the masses and keeps them frozen while the ground beneath them turns to liquid. The lie is this: in a collapse, wealth is destroyed. When you see the stock market turn red, when you see bond yields spike and housing prices fracture, it feels like destruction. It feels like the money is vanishing into thin air. But this is a violation of the laws of physics and the laws of economics. Wealth is energy. It is never created and it is never destroyed. It simply transfers. We are standing at the precipice of December 2025. The data we discussed in Part 1, China's $690 billion treasury dump, the VIX at 52, the mathematical impossibility of the U.S. debt spiral, these are not signs of the end of the world. They are the bell lap of the greatest wealth transfer in human history. What you are witnessing is not the evaporation of value. You are witnessing the migration of value. It is moving from the impatient to the patient, from the oblivious to the informed, from the holders of paper promises to the owners of real things. And most importantly, it is moving from the debtors, the nations and individuals who borrowed from the future, to the creditors, those who hold the claim on reality. I showed you the why. I showed you the 4-stage cancer that kills every reserve currency. Stage 1, the trap of unpayable debt. Stage 2, the debasement of printing money. Stage 3, the crisis of confidence, where the world walks away. And Stage 4, the collapse. But collapse is the wrong word for what you need to do next. For the unprepared, it is a collapse. For the prepared, it is a reset. If you are watching this, you are likely feeling a specific kind of anxiety. It's the anxiety of knowing the train is coming, but not knowing which way to run. You have cash in the bank, but you know it's melting. You have a 401k, but you suspect it's a trap. You want to act, but you are terrified of making the wrong move. For the next 20 minutes, we are going to turn off the noise. We are going to ignore the TV pundits who tell you to buy the dip. We are going to ignore the politicians promising a soft landing. We are going to look at the cold, hard mechanics of survival. This is the manual for Stage 4. To understand how to position yourself, you must first understand the nature of the beast we are fighting. We are not fighting a recession. We are not fighting a depression. We are fighting a currency event. In a normal recession, cash is king. Asset prices fall, so if you hold dollars, you can buy more stuff later. That is the rulebook of the last 40 years. That is what your financial advisor is telling you right now. Stay the course. Keep some cash on the sidelines. In a currency event, Stage 4, cash is not king. Cash is the victim. In Stage 4, the value of your money falls faster than the prices of assets drop. You might see the stock market crash in real terms, but go up in nominal terms because the currency is worthless. Look at the Venezuelan stock market in 2016. It was the best performing stock market in the world. It went up thousands of percent. But if you were an American investor, you lost 99% of your money. Why? Because the currency collapsed faster than the stocks rose. The goal in Stage 4 is not to make a profit in dollars. The goal is to maximize purchasing power. You need to stop measuring your wealth in green pieces of paper. That yardstick is broken. You need to start measuring your wealth in ounces of gold, in acres of land, in kilowatt hours of energy, in satoshis. The pattern of history shows that when Stage 3 transitions to Stage 4, the exits are small and the crowd is large. Right now, in late 2025, the exits are still open. Capital controls haven't been fully implemented. You can still move money. You can still buy physical metal. You can still self-custody crypto. But the window is closing, and when it shuts overnight. So, what does the anti-collapse portfolio look like? It is built on 3 pillars: the shield, the lifeboat, and the sword. Let's start with the shield. There is a reason why, as the US dollar crumbles, the People's Bank of China has been buying gold every single month for the last 3 years. There is a reason why Russia, India, Turkey, and Poland are repatriating their gold reserves from London and New York. They know the difference between currency and money. Currency is a government liability. It is an IOU. If you hold a dollar, you are holding a debt note from the U.S. Treasury. You are trusting that they will tax future generations to pay you back. Money is a store of value that requires no trust. Gold is money. Now, I hear the objections. Gold is a boomer rock. Gold doesn't pay dividends. Gold is heavy and hard to store. In normal times, these are valid points. In stage 4, they are irrelevant. You do not buy gold to get rich. You buy gold to ensure that you do not become a peasant. Let's look at the math of the Weimar Republic again. It is the perfect laboratory. In 1918, before the collapse, a standard middle-class family in Berlin had savings of 50,000 marks. That was a fortune. It could buy a large house, a car, and fund a retirement. By 1923, those 50,000 marks couldn't buy a newspaper. The family was destitute. They sold their furniture for food. But imagine that same family had taken just 10% of their savings, 5,000 marks, and bought gold coins in 1918. By 1923, the purchasing power of that gold hadn't just been preserved, it had exploded relative to everything else. Why? Because while the currency collapsed, panic set in, desperation set in. People were selling real estate for anything tangible. That small bag of gold coins could have bought the entire street their house stood on. This is the wealth transfer. The person holding the paper loses the house. The person holding the metal buys the house. In 2025, the strategy is identical. You need a core position in physical precious metals, not paper gold, GLD ETFs that you can't redeem. Physical. If you can't hold it, you don't own it. But it's not just gold, it's anything that cannot be printed. Silver, agricultural land, energy royalties, commodities. We are moving from a financialized economy, where wealth is paper derivatives, to a tangible economy. The BRICS nations call this the commodity-based world order. They are backing their trade with oil, wheat, and metals. The West is backing its trade with debt. Which side do you want to be on? Pillar 1 is about exiting the financial system entirely. It is your insurance policy. But insurance doesn't make you wealthy. It just keeps you alive. To thrive, you need Pillar 2. If gold is the shield of the ancient world, Bitcoin is the lifeboat of the digital age. I know half of you just rolled your eyes. You've heard the hype. You've seen the crashes. You think it's a casino. But if you are still dismissing Bitcoin in 2025 as magic internet money, you are making the same mistake as the people who dismissed the internet in 1995 as a digital fax machine. You need to strip away the price volatility and look at the architecture. The U.S. dollar system is a centralized ledger. It is controlled by the Federal Reserve and the Treasury. They can edit the ledger. They can add zeros, printing money. They can freeze entries, censorship. They can block transactions, sanctions. In stage 3, the crisis of confidence, the world loses trust in the controllers of that ledger. Bitcoin is the only asset in human history that is finite. There will never be more than 21 million. Decentralized. No government can shut it down. Portable. You can cross a border with $1 billion in your head, a seed phrase, and no customs agent can seize it. Think about the refugee fleeing a war zone. Can he carry gold bars? No. Can he access his bank account if the regime freezes it? No. But if he has Bitcoin, his wealth teleports with him. In stage 4, capital becomes claustrophobic. It gets trapped. Governments will implement financial repression. They will force pension funds to buy government bonds. They will limit how much cash you can withdraw. They will monitor every transfer over $600. Bitcoin is the only exit valve that they can't solder shut. And the smart money knows this. Why do you think BlackRock, Fidelity, and VanEck fought so hard for the ETFs? Why do you think U.S. politicians are suddenly talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve? They aren't doing it for the technology. They are doing it because they see the math. They know the dollar is mathematically doomed, and they need a vessel to store value that is outside the blast radius of sovereign debt defaults. In your anti-collapse portfolio, this is your asymmetric bet. It is high risk, yes, but the risk of holding 100% dollars is now a guarantee of loss. The risk of holding 0 Bitcoin is the risk of missing the only lifeboat that floats when the fiat ocean drains away. Now we arrive at the most aggressive, dangerous, and lucrative strategy of all. The sword. This is how the ultra-wealthy actually become billionaires during a currency collapse. They don't just save, they attack. To understand this, we have to look at a man named Hugo Stinnes. In 1920s Germany, while everyone else was terrified of inflation, Hugo Stinnes loved it. He was an industrialist. He understood one simple mathematical truth. Inflation destroys the value of money, but it also destroys the value of debt. Stinnes went to the banks. He borrowed massive amounts of German marks, billions of them. He took that paper money and immediately bought hard assets: coal mines, steel mills, shipping lines, hotels. The banks thought they were winning. They were collecting interest. But then the hyperinflation hit. The value of the mark collapsed. The value of Stinnes's coal and steel skyrocketed in price. But his debt? The number of marks he owed remained fixed. By late 1923, Stinnes could sell a few tons of coal, take the worthless paper marks, and pay off the entire loan that he used to buy the mine. He ended up owning a massive percentage of the German economy, effectively for free. This is the concept of good debt in a stage 4 scenario. If you can borrow 30-year fixed-rate debt in a currency that is about to die and use it to buy a cash-flowing asset, like a rental property or a business, that adjusts with inflation, you are effectively shorting the dollar. Let's say you buy a house for $500,000 with a mortgage today. Inflation rips to 20% or 30% a year. 5 years from now, a loaf of bread costs $50. Your salary, hopefully, has adjusted up to millions of worthless dollars. The rent on that house is now $10,000 a month. But your mortgage payment? It is still the same number of dollars it was in 2025. You pay off the debt with pocket change. You own the asset free and clear. But, and this is a life or death warning, this strategy only works if the debt has a fixed rate. If you have a variable rate, the bank will raise your interest to 50% and bankrupt you. You can service the cash flow in the chaos of the transition. The middle class fears debt because they use it to buy liabilities, cars, TVs. The rich use debt to short the currency. In stage 4, debt is the sword you use to carve out your piece of the new world. Now, a warning.
The system will not go down without a fight.
The politicians, the central bankers,
the media, they will not tell you the dollar is dying. They will tell you we are modernizing the financial system. They will present you with the solution to the crisis they created. They will call it a soft landing, and the vehicle for this soft landing is the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. This is the most critical thing you need to understand about the next 24 months. When the bond market freezes, when the banks start to fail, and they will. Just like in 2008 and 2023, the government will step in. They will say, the old banking system is too slow, too risky. We need to protect you. Here, download the FedNow app. We will deposit your stimulus checks, your universal basic income, directly onto your phone. It will sound convenient. It will feel safe. But it is a prison. A CBDC is not money. It is a voucher. It is programmable. They can set it to expire. Spend this stimulus within 30 days or it vanishes, forcing you to spend to prop up the economy. They can restrict it. You have bought too much gas this month. Purchase denied. They can censor it. You donated to the wrong political cause. Account frozen. If you are holding your wealth in the traditional banking system when the switch to CBDCs happens, you will be trapped. You will have to convert your dying dollars into their digital tokens at whatever rate they decide. You will be bailed in. This is why stages 1, 2, and 3 are merely the setup. Stage 4 is the implementation of this new control grid. The anti-collapse portfolio, gold, Bitcoin, hard assets is not just about making money. It is about maintaining sovereignty. It is about having wealth that exists outside of their ledger. Wealth they cannot turn off with a keystroke. Zoom out one last time. Look at the board. The world is undergoing a bifurcation, a divorce. On one side, you have the debt block, the US, Europe, Japan. These are aging populations, massive debt loads, industrialized economies. They produce financial products and print currency. On the other side, you have the commodity block, the BRICS+, China, Russia, Brazil, Saudi Arabia. They produce oil. They grow food. They mine gold. They manufacture goods. In stages 1 and 2, the debt block won because the world needed their currency. In stages 3 and 4, the commodity block wins because the world needs stuff. When the dollar loses its reserve status, which is happening right now, with 42 countries signing swaps with China, the privilege of printing money to buy oil ends, America will have to pay for things with actual value. This means a massive drop in the standard of living for those solely reliant on the dollar system. It means inflation that feels like a permanent tax, but for those who align their portfolio with the commodity block logic, owning scarce resources, owning energy, owning real production, this is the dawn of a golden age. We are in December 2025. The warning lights are not just flashing, they are burning out. China has made its move. The VIX is screaming. The bond market is trembling. The pattern is executing stage 3 with ruthless mathematical precision. You have a very narrow window of opportunity left. A window where your dollars still have purchasing power. A window where you can still walk into a coin shop and buy gold. A window where you can still wire money to an exchange and withdraw Bitcoin to cold storage. A window where you can fix your debt before the rates explode. Most people will do nothing. They will suffer from normalcy bias. They will tell themselves, it hasn't happened yet, so it won't happen tomorrow. They will wait until the TV news anchor tells them it's a crisis. And let me promise you this, by the time they tell you it's a panic on CNN, the doors will already be welded shut. You have been given the playbook, you understand the mechanism. The United States is entering stage 4. The collapse of the old order is inevitable, but your personal collapse is not. The only difference between the victims of history and the victors of history is action. The math doesn't lie. The pattern doesn't break. The transfer has begun. The only question left is, will you own the future or will the future own you?